All right, this is Rolly with Us Bow Hunting. We just did a video on setting up the rest on this new PSE EVO EVL 34, and we're getting ready to set the D-loop up. If you didn't get to see that video, go back and make sure you watch that video so you're up to date on the process of how I'm setting this bow up. So let's get into doing this D-loop. All right, so I got the bow leaned forward to make it easier for me to work here in this area on my center serving. And again, if you didn't see that first video where you saw me level the arrow and mark this string right here, then you want to go back and give that a look so you see how I did that. All right, we're going to get right into it and go ahead. And I like to tie soft knocks above and below my arrow knock, and that way it eliminates arrow pinch through the draw cycle. And so let's get those tied on and I'll show you how to do that. I've just got there's actually center serving material here that I'm going to use. I'll cut a little piece off. And then just move that arrow out of the way because it's not really doing anything at the moment. But I'm going to go where I marked that at the bottom, line this up. And this is just a simple half hitch knot. It's nothing fancy. But I'm just going to do 3 or 4 of them. Make sure that I snug them in tight. Be careful when you're snugging this in. Like this is power grip serving. It's a braided line. If you run it through your fingers, it will cut you if you're pulling really hard on it. So keep that in mind as you're tightening these down. So like I said, 3 or 4. I just kind of play it by ear what I think looks good as far as getting the right amount of knots. Then we'll take the lighter and I'm just gonna, instead of cutting that and taking a chance of it loosening, I just burn it, let it run up to it. Be careful not to hold the lighter too close to your center serving because you do not want to burn that. So then I'll take this arrow because I had marked it above, so that's my upper knot, and I'll push it right up to it. I'm gonna come below it, not touching it, but just a hair bit of space. I'm going to mark another spot, and then I'll pull this arrow off for now, get it out of my way. Again, we're going to pull out a little bit of center serving material. I like the white. It contrasts really good against a black center serving. And again, it's just a simple half hitch knot. Nothing super fancy. And we're gonna do, usually it's 4, is kind of my average, I guess. But like I said, I just kind of play it by ear. Depends on how thick a center serving material that you're using to tie these knots with, where it kind of looks good. And I like to start, as you notice when I was tying these, start inside and work my way out, so that when I burn these knots off, my arrow's not rubbing them, so it's never going to bust that knot loose. And again, burn it into it and touch it, being careful not to burn my center serving. And so that's got your soft knots tied above and below. That way, if you ever need to replace your D-loop, you're always going to have that center mark. You don't have to worry about it coming off. Once your bow's tuned, you can cut that D-loop off, tie a new one on, and you've always got these to mark. So you're just going to tie your D-loop above and below, and you're not going to have knock pinch because it's not going to let that D-loop slide. No matter how tight that you cinch a D-loop down, it will slide to the center and pinch your knock if you don't put these in. So next, I have just a little short piece of D-loop material. This is BCY D-loop material, and I'll show you guys a couple of little tricks I have. I'm gonna flare that out, and then we're gonna burn it. Make sure we got a nice knot, and then I'm gonna touch it to the side of my lighter, flatten it out, mushroom it out. So you have a really nice flare on that. That's gonna give you a good lip, keep it from sliding through when you cinch it down. Now the next thing is a little trick I learned that works really good. This is just some bowstring wax that you can pick up anywhere. And I'm gonna take my lighter and actually heat the wax till it starts to look runny. See it real shiny, starts shining up so it's melting, okay? And then I'm gonna take this D-loop material and run it, and I'm twisting it as I come through and put it really heavy on this D-loop. And then I'll come back with my fingers and really rub it in. That's gonna protect your D-loop, it's gonna last longer. And on top of that, that gives it's a slicker. And when I get ready to tie this knot for my D-loop, it's gonna allow me to cinch it down that much tighter because it's not gonna have the drag of that dry braided material rubbing against itself. So just a little bit of a tip there that'll come in handy. All right, so we're gonna come in here and tie this knot. And again, this is just how I like to do it, and it makes it easier for me to remember. So you're gonna come under, and this is a right-handed bow. So I'm gonna come over, and then I've got it right there. I'm gonna come back through. And so then I'm gonna kind of work this knot down. I'm not gonna just grab it and cinch it. Work it down, make sure it's good and snug and clean looking. And then I'll pull it just hand tight. Kind of allows me to still be able to move it. Okay. Now I'm going to come down here, and you want these knots to be opposite of each other. So I'm going to come down the opposite side and then make a loop. I'm going to come back through that loop. And you can leave that, if you want a longer D-loop, you can leave you a little space. If you want a shorter D-loop, you can pull it down tighter. I'm kind of in the middle. So anyway, so then I'm going to come under. Oh, sorry, screwed that up. Come over, don't come under. And then same thing, I'm gonna push that knot up. Just kind of snug it up by hand. Then I'm gonna come back and trim that off. And where I leave that little bit of space, I kind of go even with that D-loop where it comes to the rise, gives me a good reference. Then I'm gonna flare that out, just like I did it first. And same thing, we're gonna melt that up real good. Try not to hit that. Having the wax on there too will help you. If you do get a little close, it won't burn as easy. And then the last thing is you gotta have, these are D-loop pliers, but you can actually use needle nose pliers if you don't have these. Get it in there, and then that's going to set that really tight. And that's just a nice clean, that's kind of a mid-size shorter D-loop, and that's nice and tight and clean. That's what you're looking for. You're not going to have any knot pinch. I will stick this arrow back on here and kind of show you. So you can snap the arrow in, and you've got just a little bit of movement, which when you draw this back and this string V's, those knots will actually come in and there will be no movement, and it'll line it up center. So anyway, there's your D-loop video. Make sure you like and subscribe because the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put our sight on, our quiver, our stabilizers, and then we'll put our peep in. So make sure you like and subscribe and follow us for these next videos coming.